Good day. I hope you're doing well. Anybody get to see the supermoon last night? What an amazing spectacle of that moon. It was like a spotlight. That's a bad spotlight, but you get the point. It just lit up the whole place. It was glowing everywhere. And speaking of gift, one of the things we talked about this last Sunday was that there's a gift that God gives each one of us. And it's the gift of community. That God gives us community, that we're wired to live in community, family with one another. And Scripture shows us, and so does studies, verify what Scripture says, that when we decide not to live in community, it's detrimental to us. That we're physically, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually not in a good place. It becomes has damaging effects in our lives. So much so that one study said this, that people who smoke 15 cigarettes a day, eat unhealthy Twinkies and things of that nature, ice cream, are far more healthier than somebody who works out, eats right, but lives in isolation. Pretty crazy. We would think the opposite, but it's because we're wired for community. We see this in Genesis chapter 2. It says that it's not good that man is alone. That God made a helper for man because it wasn't good that he was alone. And I know that's talking about marriage, but if you see the narrative of Scripture, it says we are wired to live in community. It's not good when we're alone. We even see this in Acts chapter 2:42. The church is birthed, and 2 of the 4 pillars of the early church were about community, fellowship, community, and the breaking of bread, which is coming around the Lord's table, communion, which we got community there, but also breaking bread around a table with somebody at their home or at a restaurant, or having coffee together or tea. There is a supernatural thing that happens when we gather around a table. Community develops. Which leads us to the question of, well, how do we develop community? And one thing I want to highlight is this. Community is developed when we commit or covenant time with somebody. That community doesn't happen if I just see somebody once a month or once every 3 months or once every 6 months or maybe even once every 2 weeks. Community takes time to develop and to grow. Studies even show it takes about 200 hours for you to become good friends with someone, which takes a long time if you're an adult. But if you see kids, this is why we see kids, they develop friends so quickly, is because they're with their friends 5 to 10 hours a week through school or sports or just in the neighborhood. And so it develops quickly. But for adults, it takes some time and some commitment, which leads to, where do we as adults who have busy lives develop community? And I'm going to give 3 different places it can happen. One is church. Church is a place for community. That it's to foster. We come together to worship God, to glorify His name, but also to be in fellowship with one another and to break bread with one another through communion. And my encouragement to you is this. Because you think about church, well, maybe I haven't had community. My encouragement to you is this, that when you come to church, come early, or even better, stay a little bit after church for 10 to 15 minutes. Have dialogue and conversation with somebody. You'll be amazed at how community starts to foster and develop in those 10 to 15 minutes after church as you share life, or before church. Because people at our church, they come beforehand. There's a good group of them who come a half an hour before to fellowship with one another. Second place, as I mentioned earlier, is around tables. Go out to eat with somebody. Go grab coffee with somebody. Go grab tea with somebody. Have them over to your house. Go to their house. that there is a supernatural spiritual component that happens when we gather around a table. We sit in circles and we share uninterrupted, unless you have little kids, and that might interrupt it a little bit, time with one another. We're just sharing about life, no agenda except for being with each other. And then third is we can develop community through activities. One of the things I do, and I got out of the habit of, and it wasn't good, but back in the habit of, is working out with friends. And one of the things that me and my guy friends talk about, we go to work out, but we're really going for therapy. We're going to have community, to share life with one another. And there's supernatural things that happen as we share an activity together. At the school my kids go to, there are some ladies who come and have the activity of knitting together. And they come every week and they knit together in an activity to foster community. So what about you? What steps can you take to develop community? Is it coming to church and then sticking around a little bit afterwards? Is it calling somebody up? Or as they do nowadays, calling somebody up and saying, hey, let's get some coffee. Let's go out to eat. And doing it on a somewhat consistent basis. Or is it, hey, let's do this activity together. Let's go hiking. Let's go biking. Let's do whatever interest it is. Watch sports together. And then seek to foster and develop community. I encourage you to take those steps. You won't regret it. It will bring life to your soul, and you will bring life to somebody else. Be blessed to do that. And then lastly, announcement this Sunday, we are continuing our series in practicing the ways of Jesus. We meet at 10 a.m. in Brooklyn, Ohio at 9014 Biddulph Road, Renew Church, Cleveland. Love to have you join us. This Sunday, we're talking about the spiritual practice that gives God glory and gives us an immense amount of joy. Would love to have you join us. Be blessed. Have a great week. Thanks. Bye.